Welcome to Living the Empowered Life podcast. I'm your host, Tamiko Pugh, best-selling author, transformational strategist, life and business coach to purpose-driven women, and empowerment influencer. Affectionately called by many, the Empowering Diva. Each week, I'm bringing you inspirational conversations as well as actionable tips and strategies that move you forward in life and business. I believe that empowerment comes from within and can be achieved by honoring yourself, your values, and expressing your talents and gifts. Thank you so much for spending time with me today. Now let's jump into today's episode of Living the Empowered Life. Welcome to another episode of Living the Empowered Life podcast. I'm your host, the Empowering Diva, Tamiko Pugh. In today's episode, I'll be chatting with Dr. Michelle R. Hanna, personal and business relationship coach. Dr. Michelle R. Hanna, through her life's medical challenges and overwhelming love for humanity, the health, emotional well-being of people, and commitment to living authentically, is among the most influential women today. Dr. Michelle public speaking spans over 15 years. She's the author of The Breaking Point, a full circle journey and workbook, The Vows, a guide to understanding your marriage and understanding yourself, and her most recent book, The Self Vows, 7 vows that will change your life. Michelle has made several appearances and recently was voted the #1 relationship coach of the year. All right, so you have heard her amazing bio. We're going to go ahead and jump into our amazing conversation with Michelle Hanna. Michelle, welcome to Living the Empowered Life podcast. How are you?
Good. I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. I'm so excited to dive into our conversation today. I've been following you on social media for a while, and you're doing some amazing things, especially as it relates to like relationships, right? And so one of the things I wanted us to kind of discuss is tell us a little bit about your journey or your passion for relationships.
Wow. My passion, unequivocally, anybody that knows me personally or professionally knows that my passion is helping singles and couples emotionally heal, to connect deeper to intimacy, and ultimately teach and just provide effective tools to live authentically. I'm really passionate about creating a healthy self-love care regimen. So much so that I wrote the book, The Self Vows, 7 Vows That Will Change Your Life. And it literally addresses how to obtain a healthy self-love care regimen for you in every chapter or even in every module with our Self Vows program. So I'm just so passionate about that because not only for other people, but I'm passionate in my own life to make sure that I'm accountable every day to self-love, self-care.
I love that. And I love that you said effective tools, right? Because we
Yes.
can just put stuff out there, but you made it a point to say effective tools. And to me, that means that these are effective tools. They're going to make a difference in someone's lives, right? And then also being able to obtain a healthy self-love regimen. That is so important, especially as women when it comes to self-care and self-love. I feel like sometimes those are the things that we don't incorporate enough as coaches, as what I like to call, visionary influencers. We pour into everyone else, like our spouses, our children, those that we're called to serve, but then we neglect ourselves and we don't really pour into ourselves the way that we should.
Yeah, it's interesting because, I do a self-vows retreat 1 to 2 times a year. It has definitely been challenging in regards to COVID, having to have people that actually travel in from other states. They have to be tested. We even went so far as they were wearing hazmat suits, as they arrived at the retreat. And the focus for this retreat was coaches, therapists, and women in business. And it was so interesting that, over the couple of days, the 4 days that, we had them being very fully present about their lives and about what they were lacking, what they needed more of. The common denominator was that they poured out so much during the day, during the week. They wear so many titles, but the title that was literally like on fumes was the self-care, self-love title. So you can be successful in your business and as mom and as a wife, right? But the real success is when we know when to just stop and say, you know what, I need to fill myself back up. I need to refuel. I need to pour back into myself. And that is just so important because, it's important to how we show up for other people. And at some point, it's going to start leaking somewhere where then people start to notice that you are operating on fumes.
Yeah, and that's true. It's so true. That's just like, it makes me think about a vehicle that's low on fumes
Yes.
and it starts to do that little thing where it won't go. I can't think of the
Yes.
word I'm trying to think of, but it'll start to kind of slow down and then it'll kind of just stop on you. It's out of gas. And we do the same thing, in our natural lives. And I'm so glad that you mentioned your last retreat was geared towards coaches and therapists and women in business, because we need it. We pour out to so many people and don't really pour back into ourselves. I'm guilty of that.
Absolutely.
And I'm so guilty of that. I wish I could have come
Yes,
to your retreat.
absolutely. Yeah, of course. I'm inviting you. But, I was saying that at the retreat, one of the things that I kept saying the entire time was, wow, I wish I was a attendee at my own retreat. Like this one was the one that I wish I was an attendee at, because everything that I was pouring out, what I truly realized is every day of the retreat that I was lacking in that area. And I'm a person that's really accountable to self-love and self-care. But I also believe where we are in our nation, we need to double up on the self-love and self-care.
We do. Now more than ever, we really have to focus on self-care, because when you look at the news and then we're in the middle of a pandemic, there's so much going on. You got politics and injustices. And so I think, we take that all in. But like you said, real success is when we know when to say stop or no. No, right? I
Yeah.
used to have a very difficult time saying no because I thought that people needed me. They were going to be upset. Who does she think she is telling me no? And so I used to say yes to everything until I got to a point where I remember I passed out one day and my blood pressure had gotten so high because I was pouring out, and I was dehydrated. I had to be rushed to the hospital, and I was literally on the brink of having a stroke. And that was my wake up call in 2018 when I started to tell people no. And I didn't even say I'm sorry. I didn't give an excuse. Nope, I'm not going to be able to do that. And I think the power of no, embracing that, really was a game changer for me.
Absolutely. I actually did have a mini stroke in 2019, and I knew that I was on fumes, and I kept telling myself, okay, I'm going to do this one more event, and then I'm done. I'm going to take a break. And I remember that I was doing this event. I was the keynote speaker. And it's funny because one of the therapists that actually was at my retreat pulled me to the side and she said, "You don't look well. You need to go home." And I said to her, "Okay, I am." I said, "Let me just get up there, do my thing." and then I'm going to leave after that. She says, when you get off the stage, I'm grabbing your stuff and you need to go home. That same therapist had a stroke. So she could see something like on my face and how I was moving that alarmed her. And that was on a Saturday. That Wednesday, I was sitting in my office, actually with a couple. They had like a great breakthrough. And right after they had that breakthrough, the woman said, Dr. Michelle, look at your face. What's wrong with your face? And I turned to my right because there was a big mirror there. And I knew in my core, I knew that I had a very short period of time for me to just tell them to, because they didn't know my husband's name, to told them my husband's name and gave the phone to them, because I just knew that I felt like I was disconnecting from just my body in that moment. And so that was definitely a call for me that I cannot put myself on hold anymore. Like, everyone else can be on hold, but I can't be on hold. My healthy can't be on hold. And what does that really communicate to ourselves when we do that? That actually communicates that we don't value our healthy. We don't value our no, or even our self-worth to maybe, the capacity that we think we do. Because if you did, right, what I felt in my body that day, I would have just called and said, you know what, I'm not able to make it. I'm so sorry. I know that I'm the keynote speaker, but I'm not feeling well, and I need to choose me in this moment. Mm-hmm. But like you were saying, that was really hard for me to do when it comes to business, because, I had a mom that says at any means, necessary. Mm-hmm. When you give your word, you show up. And that is like the wrong advice. Not at any means necessary.
Yeah. But I think we look at that as a form of success. In order to be successful, by any means necessary, it doesn't matter how you feel, what you got going on, you need to show up. You need to show up for everyone else, but then we don't show up for ourselves.
Yes, absolutely. And consistently and on purpose, and have the intentions to do that, because it's not that we don't show up for ourselves, like never. It's just that, what my self-care regimen may look like for me may be totally different for you. That's why it's so important that we figure out what is the best self-love and self-care regimen for me, for myself personally, because self-love and self-care is just so essential to overall balance, to our peace, to our joy. And we talked about the climate of our nation. I really, truly feel that the pandemic has caused us, and sometimes we feel forced us actually, to pause, to go through the process, and to really question, our purpose. And self-love is choosing to love yourself on purpose. It's intentional.
It really is. And I agree with you 100%. This pandemic has really caused us to pause. For me, it was a much needed. I welcomed the peace and the solitude and the quietness and the opportunity to just be still. I learned so much about myself, just in this past year alone. Like, I started a garden. Never thought that I would get outside and play in the dirt and start a garden, but the pandemic, looking for stuff to do, trying to make sure that, self-love, self-care, that I was doing something that felt good to me. But I fell in love with gardening. Who would have ever thought? The girl from
I know a lot of people that have taken that up, and it has truly been a sense of peace for them. They were saying that it was something about their hands, being in the dirt and connecting with the earth, that just really gave them that peace. So I could totally believe that.
Yes, absolutely. So now, Michelle, we're talking about the self-love vows. There's seven of them, I
Hmm.
believe, correct? There's
Yes.
seven of those. So you made a statement. You said that we spend half of our lives wanting and waiting to take the traditional wedding vows with someone else, but we're unaware that we need to take the vows to self first. Like, that's such a
Yes.
powerful statement. Like, and then
Yes.
you go on to say, we we stand before God, right? The minister, the
Hmm.
congregation, and commit to
Hmm.
some of the most important vows that one can take. Another powerful statement. So when we're talking about these self-love vows, I'm looking at this like a commitment, as if we would commit to our spouse when we're taking those vows. Can you share a little bit of those vows, the seven, or is that something you can do?
Yes, I can share the 7 vows with you that are going to sound very familiar. For those of you that are married, that are thinking about getting married, or that are not married, you've heard it at some point in your life. And then I can focus on just 2 of them and give your audience some self-care tips to get them going.
I think that would be
So,
perfect.
yes, absolutely. So the first vow, to have and to hold from this day forward, for better, for worse, for richer, for poor, in sickness and in health, to love and to cherish, to death do I part, as long as I shall live. Now, when you're taking it to, or extending those vows to someone else, it's to death do us part, as long as we shall live. But I believe that I have to take those vows to self first before I can even think about extending that to another. After doing this for so long, for like 20 years now, what I have found as a common denominator in couples is that they didn't take their self vows to themselves. And so that's why there's so many challenges that come up in the relationship and unresolved, issues. And honestly, they didn't even know to take the self vows to themselves. So that has been definitely a great concept that I have been able to not only share through the Self Vows book, but also with the world, because it was really a gift to me. So to have and to hold from this day forward. So let's ask yourself, who are you? Now, when you answer, I want you to answer in the noun, not who you were, not who you want to be, but who are you? So it would sound like I am fear, I am peace, I am courage, etc. So ask yourself that. Are you stuck? Do you blame yourself consistently for things that have happened in the past mistakes? Do you blame others for things that have happened in the past? Do you find yourself having a hard time moving forward?
Mm.
Because when you say to have and to hold, that means that acceptance. I am having everything about myself. I know I have flaws and quirks and all of that, but I'm having everything about myself in this moment. Does that mean that you can't choose to change what you feel that doesn't serve you? Of course not. But you are having you to hold. That's to support. That means you be your biggest cheerleader, regardless, because sometimes, even our biggest cheerleader, I like to think that my husband is my definitely my big cheerleader, and my mom is my big cheerleader. But you know what? I'm with me all day, every day, and they're not. So I have to be my biggest cheerleader. I have to make the choice to move forward or whether I'm going to stir in it. So the tip is accept what is and move forward from what was. Accept your unique flaws and your quirks. And here's a real good one. Stop comparing yourself to
Yes.
others, specifically on social media.
Mm.
It's a competition that you will never win. If anything we can be the expert in, be an expert on you. That's what I have tons of tips on that, but if you can just start there, I'm telling you, you have made like at least the first steps in really starting to nurture your self-love and self-care. The other vow that I would like to talk about, one of my favorites, because it took me so long to get there,
Mm-hmm.
is to love and to cherish. Ask yourself the questions. Do you like yourself?
Yeah.
Do you spend time with you? Do you go to dinner by yourself? Do you take a walk on the beach by yourself? Do you do anything by yourself, or do you always need someone to assist you, with or accompany you? Do you love yourself? How do you value yourself? And then I would say on a scale from 1 to 10, rate your self-worth. Be honest. Like, what does that really look like? And do you feel powerless or do you feel powerful?
Mm.
Self-care is how you take your power back. Self-care is using your voice. It's choosing you on purpose. It's things like pampering yourself and massaging yourself. You don't have to wait. I know during this whole pandemic, one of the things that I really missed was going to the spa. But
Yes.
I had to realize, like, okay, look, you can't go, so you are going to have to start massaging yourself. I just bought like this massager. It's just so great. It is unbelievable. So I bought myself this massager, and guess what? I can do that in the middle of the day when I need it. I hug myself every morning when I wake up, and I kiss myself on my hand every morning when I wake up. That's me being very intentional about loving me. And I really feel like if you are intentional about doing something daily, even if it's just like for 15 minutes, that gives you like pure joy and peace, then do it. And that at least will start the steps in the right direction of building up your self-love and building up that self-care.
Oh, Michelle, you just said a mouthful. Like you literally just blessed my socks off just by sharing those two. I mean, we think about these vows when we're getting married, and it took me back to my wedding day, making these vows to
Mm,
this person. But imagine had I did this beforehand, right? Taking those vows
yes,
for myself. I can see this being having such a great impact on women. I mean, you're doing this already, having this powerful impact, so that when we do take other vows in life towards our careers and our spouses and our families, that we're in a place of peace and joy. And I've heard you say
yes,
that several times. Peace and joy are the two words that I
yes.
continuously hear you saying. But just imagine how much peace and joy we would have if we took the time out to do this for ourselves first and foremost. I mean,
Absolutely, absolutely. And I will say this, those two words mean a lot to me. So it can be something for someone else that really resonates with them in their life at this point. For me, it's peace and it's joy. So
yes, yes. And then you talked about comparing yourself. Like, how many of
yeah,
us are guilty of getting on social media and comparing? Oh, look what so and so was doing. Well, look what this person is doing. Oh, look at this couple over here. Well, look at this coach. She's a seven-figure coach, and look what. So we just kind of compare. And one of the things, even for me, over the past 3 years, I want to say you mentioned being an expert on you. I had an opportunity to really become an expert on me and to really tap into, my powers and to tap into my purpose and being the person that God called me to be, as opposed to trying to be like everyone else. Because we all have a unique gift, experiences, stories, that make us who we are. And we use those to pour into other people. So if I'm trying to be like Michelle, then that means that I'm really not tapping into my purpose and my gifts to be able to impact those people that I'm called to serve.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I have a small little confession to you. So I'm actually involved with you in another goal of mine. That is getting in the best shape that I've ever been in my life, physically and mentally. I just turned 49 years old, and one of my goals is
Wait
by
a
the
minute.
time.
Wait a minute. Hold on. 49 and fine, because you don't look it. Okay, go ahead.
Yes, 49 years old, but I really, and I don't even want to do it for anybody else. I just want to do it for me and be in the best shape that I feel good, and it's not even about anybody else. I've been there, I've done that in the comparison, but it's just for me. And I will tell you that going through your what do I want to call it? Your
The challenge, the fitness challenge, health and wellness.
Yes, your fitness challenge. Yes. So I went through it, for the 21 days. It's not that I didn't lose any weight. I did, but my mindset wasn't quite where it needed to be
Mm-hmm.
for me to be totally successful in what success was defined for me. So I was a little discouraged because I felt like, and it was my birthday month too. It's still my birthday month. So I really celebrate my birthday. So I just got off track. And what I did though is I made the decision because I really love the products. I made the decision. I said, okay, so whatever, buy the product again because you just love it and you believe in it. And let's get started again. So I've gotten started, with it again. My mind is more clear. I have more energy because my mental and my physical, they're now connecting. And so now I can stay focused on that challenge. And I just thank you for that because it was just something about you and the way you presented it and the challenge that just really made me feel like I was safe and that I could do it. And to some people, you say, oh, I want to lose 10, 15 pounds. And they look at you and they're just like, where? You don't need to. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. I know what my healthy weight is. And I don't feel good at this particular weight. So anyways, I just want to thank you for that because it just was what I needed. And now I feel very connected to the challenge. And I love like the Zumba because I grew up on salsa music. So it was just, connecting back to childhood. So
I love
I just had
that.
to tell you thank you for that. Yeah.
Wow. And thank you so much for sharing that. So I am doing another challenge starting April 1st. I'll be 46 April 19th. So this will be the challenge leading up to 46. And so I'm excited about that. But yes, our health and wellness is so important to us. And this year I really wanted to really go in and make sure that I was focusing on my health and wellness. I know that when as women, once we turn 40, it's a whole different ballgame. We got to work harder.
Yes,
We
yes,
have to
yes,
be
yes. Say
intentional.
that for the people in the all the way in the back, because that is so true. It's just so so true. But
Yes.
I like the fact that you are in your 40s, which you totally look like you're in your 30s. But I like the fact that you are in your 40s, and that when I'm listening to you, I feel connected. Like no, she gets it. It's not like someone is 32 telling me about how hard it is in their 40s. Like you're in your 40s and you're like, no, I get it. I totally understand. So,
Yes, I totally get it. And one of the things I did, I think that was 2019, part of every year for my birthday, I do something related to my health and wellness. And that's why I do the Zumba. That was part of my health and wellness goal. I think I was turning 44 and I was like, I'm going to become a Zumba instructor. Didn't know that I would have to use it during COVID-19 during the pandemic to actually stay in shape and then, create a group of people that I can be accountable to. Because if I'm accountable to you, that means I have to get up and do it. So that makes me accountable to myself as well. You know what I mean?
Yes,
So,
absolutely. And you are fabulous at it. You're totally fabulous. I'm like I even told my husband because he literally has no rhythm. So I was like, listen, what about you doing this just to get you on the some rhythm? Like
that
just
is so
where
funny.
you can feel the beat, you know? And he's like, oh, I think Zumba, that's like a lady thing. I was like, no. I said, it's so cool because you're always talking about like, oh, I wish I knew how to salsa. I said, this would be a good way for you to just kind of get your hips moving. So we are 98% to where he's going to do it with me. Like we're almost there. We're almost there.
That's just awesome. I absolutely love it, love it, love it. Michelle, you mentioned, you said power, are you powerless or are you powerful? And then you mentioned taking
Yes.
our power back, take your power back. And it resonated with me because living the empowered life is all about taking your power back. And so the women that I
Mm-hmm.
get to serve, these are women who have gone through life's adversity, some difficult challenges, whatever the case may be, and your power was taken away. Like for me,
Yeah.
escaping an abusive relationship, my power was taken away. My self love, my self esteem,
Yeah.
my self confidence, it was completely gone. And so being able to regain my power and take my power back, I know that there are other women out there like that. And so part of living the empowered life is, turning those powerless situations into something powerful. But not only that, being able to take your power back and live an intentional life of living the empowered life. And
Yeah.
yes, and so that really resonated with me. And so, because this is Living the Empowered Life podcast, like, what does it mean to you to live an empowered life?
Transparency, vulnerability, authenticity, and the commitment of self love and self care. And one more thing that I'd like to say, because it has helped me um, in the mountain in my life at one time, which was forgiveness.
Mm, mm,
And
mm.
so I truly live by forgive quick, love harder. Now, I realize that some offenses, it is a process of forgiveness. So in no way am I saying, hey, just forgive quick and move on. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying that we hold on to some things that really are not that significant in the grand scheme of things. Even when it comes to just being so critical on ourselves, usually it's because there is a comparison somewhere in there that we're doing. And so if you think to yourself, forgive quick, meaning let me every morning when I get up, I give myself a do over. So that means that I forgive myself. The moment that I open my eyes, I forgive myself for whatever happened yesterday. And then I commit to loving me harder. And so I just think that that is just a good foundational, concept to live by. And it will lessen the energy from being trapped in our heart, in our minds, in our healthy space.
Wow, so powerful. Unforgiveness is like a trap. It's like
Oof,
you're stuck.
yes,
It's a trap, and it's actually not
yes,
even good for our health, mentally or physically, when
no,
you think about that.
no,
And I love that you said you forgive yourself, because so often
yes,
we go through things in life, people have wronged us, different things happen to us. And we might forgive that person, but do we really forgive ourselves? And I'm actually speaking to myself because I remember not forgiving myself for ending up in this toxic, abusive marriage. And, I would look at myself in the mirror and be like, Tamiko, how did you allow this to happen to you? Like, how, and I would just beat myself up. And so what I was doing was literally inflicting more pain on myself. And I had to learn the importance of self forgiveness and to release that and be able to walk into the freedom of forgiveness. It feels so good, when you forgive that person, but when you forgive yourself, oh my gosh, that's a whole nother level of freedom.
Absolutely. You said it, freedom. That sums it all up. Absolutely.
Yes, it does. So, Michelle, I can talk to you all day long. I mean, I
We
really
can
can. This
stay
is
up all day long.
such a rich
We have a
conversation.
lot of similarities. Oh, go ahead. I'm
Yes.
sorry.
No, no, I was just saying, just such a rich conversation filled with lots of nuggets, lots of takeaways for the people that are listening, even myself. I take copious notes, and my little notepad on my phone is full of notes from you. So that's a good thing. If I didn't have any notes, that means you weren't saying anything. I'm just joking. No, but I have a bunch of notes from you. So that's
That's
definitely
great.
a good thing.
That's
So
great.
Michelle, what do you have? I know you have this the self vows. It's coming up. Is When is that happening? Can you tell us about that? How can we get involved?
Okay, so a couple of things that I have coming up. So the Self Vows retreat, because we just had it, we will not have another one into January 2022. You
Oh,
can
yeah.
actually go to my page at the Self Vows Retreat on IG or the Self Vows Retreat on FB. You could always send me a message and I will definitely directly call you back. Or you can go to theselfvows.com and you can book an appointment to apply, because we do go through an interviewing process. So that's coming up, January 2022 of next year. But before that, I'm so excited about this. I never thought that I would that I would just have anything to do with any type of clothing or anything like that. For me, it was enough having books as a product, and that's all I needed, But I do have a condition called pudendal neuralgia. So it's a condition that causes pain and discomfort. It causes numbness in your pelvis or your genitals. And so it happens basically when a major nerve in your lower body is damaged or irritated. And so mine was damaged during a hysterectomy. So since 2013, and I'm also a cancer survivor prior to that, so it didn't make it any better that in 2013, they nicked my nerve, and as a result, I am now living with pudendal neuralgia. So it can be extremely, extremely painful. I actually told someone I didn't even remember what pain didn't feel like, because I wake up with it, I go to sleep with it. So because of that, I know one of the things was very difficult for me was finding loungewear that felt good, that it was breathable, that I could wear out, because I like fashion, that I could wear out and still feel good. And I believe in the psychology of color, and
Yes.
that would connect with my emotions, and all of those things were important to me. So on my quest to find that, and speaking to a lot of pudendal neuralgia patients, men and women, I've now received a lot of information on what was needed, or at least what their wish list was. So I am going to be coming out with, by the end of June, it's called the Self Vows Comfort Clothing line, where we will have loungewear that feels good on your skin, that's breathable, that looks good. This is not my clothing line. This is basically pieces that I have found and now are dealing with, the manufacturer that makes them, and have partnered with them to be able to now, offer this on my website. And so we will be having a fashion show. Totally want to do a runway fashion show at the end of June. And we'll also have some real, sexy, elegant night clothing as well. So really excited about that. Also have a bee steam line that is coming out because it is just very important that we take, which this is what I'm coming out with. I'm so excited, is our yoni vows that, is important that we take that. And so we've come up with the concept of just going through that whole process. So totally excited about that. And lastly, we have the Self Vows self-paced program. So the self-paced program is really for people that maybe you are not sure about a therapist, maybe you're not sure about a coach, but you know something is off. And you know that you need to take the first step. So at least we can start the tough conversation with self, and because maybe you're just not ready for the next step. And then for those of you that are ready to deep dive, and that within 9 to 12 weeks, you want to see a major change, a major transformation in your life, then we do have a guided Self Vows program that is guided by myself. So a lot of things coming up that I'm super, super excited about.
Well, congratulations. I mean, everything you just mentioned is a necessity we needed. Just thank you so much for using and sharing your gifts and talents with us. And just congratulations on everything. I'm excited for you. I look forward to supporting you in your endeavors and your upcoming initiatives. I believe that, I love to support other women and what they have going on. I'm a firm believer in empowered women, empower other women. We can empower one another and we can support one another.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Couldn't agree more.
Michelle, how can we stay connected with you through social media?
So you can find me on Instagram at Michelle_R_Hannah, HANNAH, or you can find me on Instagram at the Self Vows Retreat. And on that page, we will also be offering the comfort clothing line and the V-Steam line as well at the end of June. On Facebook, you can find me at the Self Vows Retreat, our business page, and also at Mikel, Mikel, Life Coaching on Facebook. And you can just send me an email at info@michellerhanna.com. One more thing, though, I just want to offer to your audience. If you go to my Michelle_R_Hannah or at the Self Vows Retreat, there is a link in the bio. There is a free gift there waiting for you. And then if you decide that you want to go further, there are some links there that will help you do that.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Do you have a final thought or a charge for the audience?
Yeah, it's never too late to begin your self-love care regimen, and you can start today by implementing the tips. And, if you want to truly peel back the layers and do your work, I've already told you about the self-paced Self Vows program. And also, there was some major tips that Tamiko gave today, and even just her testimony about her own life and how she had to stop and say, you know what, there's power in no, and it's a full statement. So you can begin today just with what we've given you.
Thank you, Michelle. Thank you for your transparency, your ministry, your service. Thank you for sharing your voice with us.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so glad that we finally got a chance to connect. It was definitely everything that I thought it would be.
Thank you for tuning in to today's episode of Living the Empowered Life podcast. I hope that you enjoyed my conversation with my amazing guest, Dr. Michelle R. Hanna, and that you were able to draw some inspiration as you continue your journey of living an empowered life. And remember, love makes the world go round, but self-love is where it all starts. It's time to identify and live your life purpose. It's time to live life according to your values. It's time to set goals that move you forward in life and business. It's time to unleash your confidence. It's time to fearlessly walk in your authentic power. Ladies, it's time to live the empowered life.